European dragons are legendary creatures in folklore and mythology among the overlapping cultures of Europe. In the modern period, the European dragon is typically depicted as a large, fire-breathing, scaly, horned, lizard-like creature. The creature also has leathery, bat-like wings, 4 legs, and a long, muscular prehensile tail. Some depictions show dragons with feathered wings, crests, ear frills, fiery manes, ivory spikes running down its spine, and various exotic decorations. Others have no legs or multiple heads. In folk tales, dragons' blood often contains magical properties. Keeping them alive for longer gives them magical power. For example, in the opera Siegfried, dragon's blood allows Siegfried to understand the language of the forest bird. The typical dragon protects a cavern, a castle filled with golden treasure, and evil one is often associated with a great hero who tries to slay it, and a good one is said to give wise advice. Though a winged creature, the dragon is generally to be found in its underground lair, a cave that identifies it as an ancient creature of Earth. Possibly, the dragons of European and Mid-Eastern mythology stem from the cult of snakes found in religions throughout the world. Terminology: dragon is derived from the Latin word Draco, as in the constellation Draco, which comes directly from Greek delta rho alpha kappa omega nu. The word for dragon in Germanic mythology and its descendants is worm, meaning snake or serpent. In Old English, wirm means serpent, and draka means dragon. Finnish loikami directly translated means salmon snake, but the word lohi was originally luhi, meaning crags or rocks, a mountain snake. The prefix lohi in loikami is also thought to derive from the ancient Norse word logi, meaning fire. As in Finnish mythology, there are also references to tulokami, meaning fire snake, or fire serpent. Greek and Roman dragons. Roman dragons evolved from serpentine Greek ones, combined with the dragons of the Near East, in the mix that characterized the hybrid Greek, Eastern Hellenistic culture. From Babylon, the Musasu was a classic representation of a Near Eastern dragon. John's Book of Revelation, Greek literature, not Roman, describes Satan as the great dragon, flaming red, with 7 heads and 10 horns. Much of John's literary inspiration is late Hebrew and Greek, but John's dragon is more likely to be symbolizing the dragons from the Near East. In the Roman Empire, each military cohort had a particular identifying signum, after the Parthian and Dacian wars of Trajan in the East. The Dacian Draco military standard entered the legion with the cohors Sarmatarum and cohors Decorum, a large dragon fixed to the end of a lance, with large gaping jaws of silver and with the rest of the body formed of colored silk, with the jaws facing into the wind, the silken body inflated and rippled, resembling a windsock. Several vague incarnations of evil in the Old Testament were given the translation Draco in Jerome's Vulgate, to undergo changes in meaning and become broad embodiments of evil. Dragons in Greek mythology often guard treasure such as Ladon, a 100-headed dragon which guarded the tree of Herdias until he was slain by Heracles. Likewise, Python guarded the oracle of Delphi until he was likewise slain by Apollo out of revenge for Python tormenting his mother. The Lernaean Hydra, a multiple-headed serpentine swamp monster, is said to be a dragon, being killed by Heracles later. But the matter if he's a true dragon or not is still over controversy. Middle Ages. Continental dragons. Dragons are usually shown in modern times with a body like a huge lizard, or a snake with 2 pairs of lizard-type legs, and able to emit fire from the mouths. This traces back to the continental dragon, commonly referred to as a fire-breathing dragon. The continental, like many other European dragons, has bat-like wings growing from its back. These dragons are most associated with fire-breathing. It has been speculated that accounts of spitting cobras may be the origin of the myths of continental dragons. In Western folklore, dragons are usually portrayed as evil, with the exceptions mainly in Asturian and Welsh folklore and modern fiction. This is in contrast to Asian dragons, who are traditionally depicted as more benevolent creatures. In the modern period, the European dragon is typically depicted as a huge fire-breathing, scaly and horned lizard-like creature with wings, with 4 legs and a long muscular tail. It is sometimes shown with feathered wings, crests, fiery manes, ivory spikes running down its spine, and various exotic colorations. Dragon's blood often has magical properties. For example, in the opera Siegfried, it lets Siegfried understand the language of the forest bird. The typical dragon protects a cavern, a castle filled with golden treasure, and is often associated with a great hero who tries to slay it. Though a winged creature, the dragon is generally to be found in its underground lair, a cave that identifies it as an ancient creature of Earth. Possibly, the dragons of European and Mid-Eastern mythology stem from the cult of snakes found in religions throughout the world. Classical European dragons are often described as illuminating the air. This is often taken by Christian writers as a metaphor for Lucifer as the angel of light. Germanic dragons. Worms. Dragons of Germany and Scandinavian are known as worms or worms. These dragons are usually evil, much like dragons of Greece and other dragons of continental Europe. However, there are exceptions, and many do not want to go to battle unless they feel threatened. These dragons usually have 1 pair of legs and poisonous or fire breath. The most famous dragons in Norse and Germanic mythology are Nidhogger, an evil dragon who gnaws at the roots of Yggdrasil, the world tree; Jormungandr, another evil dragon also known as Midgarths or Murren, Midgards or men, the giant sea serpent which surrounds Midgarth, the world of mortal men, later to arise out of waters to battle his arch-enemy Thor at the end of the world; Vanir, which had turned into a dragon because of his greed for a ring, and was killed by Sigurd; lindworms, usually 2-legged serpents of Germanic myth and lore, often interchangeable with dragons; Landvater, the benevolent dragon with whom King Harald Bluetooth's servant met in Vopnafjörður according to Heimskringla, and also depicted on the Icelandic coat of arms; the dragon that Beowulf encountered, which mortally injured him. Many European stories of dragons have them guarding a treasure hoard. Both Vanir and Beowulf's dragon guarded earthen mounds full of ancient treasure. The treasure was cursed and brought ill to those who later possess it. English dragon derives from ancient Greek delta rho alpha kappa omega nu drakon, serpent. Dragon, the Greek word, possibly derives from Indo-European *dirk, to see, and may originally have meant something like staring one, or monster with the evil eye. Notwithstanding the folkloric associations, there is no etymological connection between dragons and the ghoulish figures known as Draugr in Old Norse, who haunt rich burial mounds. The poem Beowulf describes a Draugr also as wirm in its movements by the Anglo-Saxon verb buggen, to bend, and says that it has a venomous bite. All of these indicate a snake-like form and movement rather than with a lizard-like or dinosaur-like body as, in later belief, Celtic dragons. Though Somerset has traditionally had a red dragon as an emblem, the red dragon is more commonly associated with Wales, as its national flag features a red dragon. This may originate in Arthurian legend, where Merlin, employed by Gwythaon, had a vision of the red dragon and the white dragon fighting beneath Dinas Emrys. This particular legend also features in the Mabinogi and in the story of Lud and Lephilis. The legendary House of Pendragon and Celtic Britain in general have become associated with the Welsh dragon's standard after the fact. Dragons of Celtic mythology can be good or evil, as seen above. Slavic dragons. Zema's dragons of Slavic mythology hold mixed temperaments towards humans. For example, dragons in Bulgarian mythology are either male or female, each gender having a different view of mankind. The female dragon and male dragon, often seen as sister and brother, represent different forces of agriculture. The female dragon represents harsh weather and is the destroyer of crops, the hater of mankind, and is locked in a never-ending battle with her brother. The male dragon protects the humans' crops from destruction and is generally benevolent to humanity. Fire and water play major roles in Bulgarian dragon lore. The female has water characteristics, while the male is usually a fiery creature. In Bulgarian legend, dragons are three-headed, winged beings with snakes' bodies. In Bulgarian, Russian, Belarusian, Ukrainian, Bosnian, Serbian, and Macedonian lore, a dragon, or Zmej, smok, Zmiy, Zmej, is generally an evil, four-legged beast with few, if any, redeeming qualities. Zmejs are intelligent, but not greatly so, often demanding tribute from villages or small towns in the form of maidens or gold. The number of heads ranges from 1 to 7 or sometimes even more, with 3 and 7-headed dragons being most common. The heads also regrow if cut off, unless the neck is treated with fire. Dragon blood is so poisonous that Earth itself will refuse to absorb it. In Bulgarian mythology, these dragons are sometimes good, opposing the evil Lamia, a beast that shares a likeness with the Zmej. The most famous Polish dragon is the Worel dragon, or Smok Worelski, the dragon of Worel Hill. It supposedly terrorized ancient Kraków and lived in caves on the Vistula river bank below the Worel castle. According to lore based on the Book of Daniel, it was killed by a boy who offered it a sheepskin filled with sulfur and tar. After devouring it, the dragon became so thirsty that it finally exploded after drinking too much water. In the oldest, 12th century version of this tale, written by Wincenty Kadlubek, dragon was defeated by 2 sons of a king, Krakus II and Lech II. A metal sculpture of the Worel dragon is a well-known tourist site in Kraków. It is very stylized, but, to the amusement of children, noisily breathes fire every few minutes. The Worel dragon is also featured in many items of Kraków tourist merchandise. Dragon is the coat of arms of the Polish princes Piasts of chess. Other dragon-like creatures in Polish folklore include the basilisk, living in cellars of Warsaw, and the snake king from folk legends, though neither are explicitly dragons. Iberian dragons are almost always evil, such as the Culebra, or Culebra, a giant winged serpent in the mythology of Asturias and Cantabria in the north of Spain. It usually lives in a cave, guards treasures and keeps nymph-like beings called Zanas or Anjanas as prisoners. They are immortal, however, they still are subject to aging. There is a legend that a dragon dwelled in the Peninsular mountain near Jaca, saying that it could mesmerize people with its glance. So the young man who decided to kill the beast equipped himself with a shiny shield, such that the dragon's glance would be reflected. When the young man arrived at the cave where the dragon lived, he could kill it easily because the dragon mesmerized itself. This legend is very similar to the Greek myth of Medusa. Heronshug is the name given to the dragon in Basque mythology, meaning last serpent. The most famous legend has St. Michael descend from heaven to kill it, but only once did God agree to accompany him in person. Sugar, the Basque male god, is often associated with the serpent, a dragon, but able to take other forms as well. His name can be read as male serpent. Dragons are well known in Catalan myths and legends, in no small part because St. George is the patron saint of Catalonia. Like most dragons, the Catalan dragon is an enormous serpent with 2 or, rarely, 4 legs and sometimes a pair of wings, much like a wyvern. As in many other parts of the world, the dragon's face may be like that of some other animal, such as a lion or bull. As is common elsewhere, Catalan dragons are fire breathers, and the dragon fire is all-consuming. Catalan dragons also can emit a fetid odor, which can rot away anything it touches. The Catalans also distinguish a vibria or a vibra, a female dragon with 2 prominent breasts, 2 claws and an eagle's beak. Dracs, vibries and other mythological figures used to participate in corrifox during popular celebrations. In Portuguese mythology, Coca is a female dragon that battles St. George on the Corpus Christi holiday. The fighting has a symbolic meaning. When the Coca defeats St. George, the crops will be bad and there will be famine and death. When St. George defeats the Coca, he cuts off her tongue and ears. Her crops will have a good year and it announces prosperity. Still, she is called Saint Coca just as George is called Saint, and the people cheer for her. Another dragon called Drago is also represented in Portuguese mythology and used to take part in celebrations during the Middle Ages. Italian dragons. Dragons are usually evil in Italy, and there are many stories of dragons being slayed. Dragons depicted demons in Italian legends. The legend of St. George and the dragon is well known in Italy, but other saints are also depicted fighting dragons. For instance, the first bishop of the city of Forlì, St. Mercurialis, was said to have killed a dragon and saved Forlì, so he is often depicted killing a dragon. Likewise, the first patron saint of Venice, St. Theodore of Tyro, was a dragon slayer, and a statue representing his slaying of the dragon still tops one of the 2 columns in St. Mark's Square. St. Michael, the patron saint of paratroopers, is also frequently depicted slaying a dragon. According to the Golden Legend, compiled by the Italian Jacobus de Voragine, St. Margaret the Virgin was swallowed by Satan in the shape of a dragon, from whence she escaped alive when the cross she carried irritated the dragon's innards. The Golden Legend, in an atypical moment of skepticism, describes this last incident as apocryphal and not to be taken seriously, which did not prevent the legend from being popular and getting artistic treatments. More prevalent are the legends about dragons in Italy, particularly in Umbria. One of the most famous dragons of Italian folklore is Iris, a wyvern that besieged Terni in the Middle Ages. One day, a young and brave knight of the noble house of Cittadini, tired of witnessing the death of his fellow citizens and depopulation of Terni, faced the dragon and killed him. For that day, the town assumed the creature in its coat of arms, accompanied by a Latin inscription, Thyrsae amnes dedit signa termines, that stands under the banner of the town of Terni, honoring this legend. Another poem tells of another dragon that lived near the village of Fornell, near Terni in the south of Umbria. Pope Sylvester I arrived in Umbria and freed the population of Fornell from the ferocity of the dragon, pacifying the dragon. Grateful for his deed, the population built a small church dedicated to the saint on the top of the mountain near the dragon's lair in the 13th century. In the apse of the church there is a fresco representing the iconography of the saint. Heraldry. In England, to this day, a rampant red dragon is the heraldic symbol of the county of Somerset. The county once formed part of the early medieval Anglo-Saxon kingdom of Wessex in western England, which too bore a dragon, or wyvern, as a symbol. The Wessex beast is usually coloured gold in illustrations. According to the writer on heraldry Arthur Charles Fox Davies, the red dragon of Wales originated with the standard of the 7th century king Cadwallader, and was used as a supporter by the Tudor dynasty. Queen Elizabeth, however, preferring gold, changed the royal mantle and the dragon supporter from red to gold, and some Welsh scholars still hold that the Dragon of Wales is properly ruddy gold rather than gules. There may be some doubt of the Welsh origin of the dragon supporter of the royal arms, but it certainly was used by King Henry III. The Welsh flag reads Party befes argent and vert, a dragon gules pastlant. Welsh rugby teams include the Newport Gwent Dragons and the Cardiff City Blue Dragons. King Peter IV of Aragon used a dragon on his helmet to show that he was the King of Aragon. As a heraldic pun, a dragon was used as the crest of the greater royal coat of arms of Portugal since at least the 14th century. Later, two dragons were used as supporters of the shield of the arms of Portugal. In the 19th century, King Peter IV of Portugal granted the city of Porto the incorporation of the dragon crest of the royal coat of arms in its municipal coat of arms, in gratitude for the support given to him by the city during the Liberal Wars. The badge of the FC Porto incorporates the old Porto municipal coat of arms with the dragon crest, and this is why the dragon was adopted as the animal mascot of the club. Beta Theta Pi uses the dragon as part of its crest. Early modern dragons. The emblem books popular from late medieval times through the 17th century often represent the dragon as an emblem of greed. The prevalence of dragons in European heraldry demonstrates that there is more to the dragon than greed. Modern dragons. Agustín Zafo, the Romantic myth creator of the 19th century, fused these myths in his own creation of L'Ronsuge, the first and last serpent, that, in his newly coined legend, would arise again sometime in the future, bringing the rebirth of the Basque nation. Dragons have long been portrayed as greedy treasure hoarders, lusting for gold and precious gems. In such stories as Beowulf, it is the theft of such treasure that sparks a dragon's fury. In the fantasy genre, however, there has been a trend of depicting dragons in a positive light, as allies instead of enemies, like the Longs of Chinese mythology and the Red Dragon of Wales, and the Brother Dragon of Poland. Dragons are increasingly viewed as friends of humans and as highly intelligent and noble creatures, while still remaining the fearsome beasts of legend. They are frequently shown as guardians and close friends of individual humans. Many of these ideas were first popularized by Anne McCaffrey with her Dragon Riders of Pern series, with later authors such as Christopher Paolini also depicting sympathetic dragon characters in Eragon. Ursula K. Le Guin created a meaningful image of dragons in her books about Earthsea. In George R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire, the character Daenerys Targaryen hatches 3 dragon eggs and raises the creatures as both her children and as the means with which she plans to regain the throne of her father. Smaug, the dragon antagonist of J.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit, was well-spoken and highly intelligent, and while fierce, was shown to be slothful and disinterested in unprovoked violence, caring more about his hoarded treasures. Brian Davis's Dragons in Our Midst depicts dragons as noble and kind beasts, having the ability to marry and reproduce with humans.